Woke up this morning with my mind set on loving me. With my mind
Welcome to the Q&A exchange.
I am Kuyani Denise, your self-healing coach.
And I'm April Diane. Our topic today is navigating undesirable emotions, the blues.
The blues.
Yeah, so they're going to come. The feelings, that emotions, they're going to come up. And it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's just about, being aware of when they come up and then choosing intentional responses. It's so funny. The other day I had someone when I was like, oh, man, I was in my feelings. And that phrase kind of like rubs me the wrong way a little bit because, I get the idea of it. People are saying, I guess, you like over the top.
Mm-hmm.
But when he said it to me, he was like, "Oh, so when I said I was in my feelings, he's like, "Oh, so you get emotional?" And immediately I was like, "Do I feel my feelings? Yeah, I do. I feel my feelings." And I think that we've been trained, some of us have been trained that having feelings is a bad thing. Being vulnerable in general is not looked upon favorably. And I guess honestly, that's, probably a survival tactic, so that predators, you're not easy prey.
Yeah.
We should totally feel our feelings.
Yeah, I agree. That and the way it sounds like it was presented to you is often used as an attack. I think I remember telling you recently about someone I was in a relationship with who would antagonize me, get me to the point that I was super angry, on top of feeling all sorts of emotions that were just unraveling me, and then be smirking at me or laughing at me the entire time, and then say, well, chalk it up to, how I am, you knew who I was when you got with me, so you should just learn how to deal with it. And it was like a weapon. Like, why are you so, because he would say things like, why are you so emotional? Why are you getting so upset? And I'm like, you're literally pushing buttons on purpose. Why are you asking me why I'm getting upset? So I feel like those phrases are used as a weapon to control us, to get us to, it takes the focus off the person who has sort of pushed the button or pulled the trigger on the emotions, and puts it on you. So not only do you feel bad because of what this person said or did, but now you're feeling like you don't have the right to emote. You don't have the right to express yourself. That somehow you being emotional about something, it means there's something wrong with you or you're doing something wrong. And that actually furthers the cycle. It keeps us stuck in our emotions. It keeps or denying them, creating other problems. And so the thing that you said about being able to becoming aware, I feel like everything that we're healing from, the first step is awareness. And we don't often get the time or take the time. I want to say we don't often get the time to stop and say, wait, what am I feeling here? Is this real? Why is it because of this, or is there really something else going on here? And so now that I've identified, I read something that said your hit, I think it's called hit emotion. I can't remember what it was called, hit something. And that's the thing that triggers you, that sets you into this certain place that you go. We don't get the opportunity to identify when what's the hit, oh, that's my trigger. And you might get that part, he done said it, that's that one thing that when people say it, I don't like it, and I go off, or I go into this place. So having that would be a good thing if we hadn't grown accustomed to the response that we give. So because we have embodied a certain response, even knowing what our trigger is isn't effective, because we're not stopping to say, okay, so I know what that is. How do I prepare myself? There were in the church, when I first got into the church, I was not playing around. I was a praying praying mad woman. I pray for everything. And one of the things I prayed for the most was because I was living in an unfavorable situation. And every day that I came home, this person, almost every day, led me out of character. I would be high in the spirit and rejoicing and just so grateful to be alive. And then I would walk in the door and they would say something and it would just set me off. And I'm like ready to go for blows. So I started praying on my way home. And I had enough time from the moment I got off the subway to the time I got to the house, because I walked from the subway to the house. This is one of those 2 fear zones, and you took the subway and the bus, but I couldn't afford to do both. So it would take me about 20 minutes, maybe, to walk from the subway to the house. So that whole time I'm praying, and I'm walking in the street, and I don't care who's watching me, I'm praying out loud, and I'm praying for peace, basically, so that when I got into the house, nothing would go off. And most of the time it worked. So I said that to kind of to piggyback on what I was saying about the awareness and changing the way we respond. So if you know that this person or this particular situation gets you in an uproar, then you have time to prepare, because you've been through it enough times so that, okay, I know I'm going to work tomorrow, and I know I'm going to be meeting with so-and-so, and I know how they normally make me feel. So what can I do to prepare myself to have a different response to this person? I already know more than likely that stuff is going to be there, or maybe not. Maybe that won't happen. But because we're so used to it, we condition ourselves to expect it all the time. And so if we train ourselves to think differently, if we train ourselves to respond differently when we enter into the situation that creates the emotion or triggers the emotion, even if it is a little uncomfortable because we're aware and we're thinking through it, we can more than likely respond differently and create less of an opportunity for that thing. If it has no place to go to, it won't show up. It'll less and less likely be present because we're not feeding it anymore. Well, we don't. That's not common. All this sounds like New Age mysticism. It doesn't sound like reality to most people, because most people are accustomed to just living the way they've been living, responding to their emotions the way they've been responding, to reacting, and just feeding it and letting it stay there. And so we don't heal and we don't grow.
Not making a conscious choice.
Yes.
Like, you want to have the opportunity to make a conscious choice. That's about what responding is. Like, the feelings can show up, but how am I going to express the feeling?
Right.
How am I going to feel the feeling? And often one of the things that you just described is that we don't get the chance to feel the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And when we don't get a chance to feel the feeling, either for several different reasons, either we don't allow ourselves anymore to feel the feeling because we may have been conditioned to believe that the feeling is not a valid feeling to feel, right? Because our reality could be being denied, in a particular environment. If someone else is not feeling it, then it doesn't exist.
Right.
That's often some of the time we can, and so then we can train ourselves to push the feeling away. And as I think we talked about this before, that it doesn't really go away. A lot of times it just stays in our body and creates tension in the body. Another thing that you mentioned is just responding differently. But I don't want to give off the idea that it's you that needs to fix.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
Sometimes we need to make a definitive decision about the people who are in our lives.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes people no longer need to be in our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Or we need to decide how much, if it's someone that we cannot completely eliminate from our lives, maybe it's a boss, right? Maybe it's a parent, then maybe it's a spouse, then maybe you need to spend more time creating healthy boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
And that can be the difficult thing. Creating healthy boundaries requires your responsibility to protect yourself. in a situation. And that's important for self-care. But with all that being said, back to our topic of navigating undesirable emotions, this is beyond feelings, right? This is maybe not beyond feelings, but beyond someone actually triggering you. This is also feelings that just come up upon you, it's seemingly randomly, right? These could be feelings that were stored up and just come to the surface just because you're raising your awareness, right? Just because you're becoming more conscious. And some of the feelings that you have stored when you start to raise your awareness by being in the present moment, right? Using the power of your breath to be in the present moment and connect with the present moment, the things that were in the background start to come in the foreground. And then, they could be all over the place. You could also not know what you're feeling. It could be so many different feelings.
Yeah.
So we came across an article that we liked. And the article is entitled, "When You Are Feeling Down, Read This."
Mm-hmm.
The article is by Carlos Velasco, and it is from December 14th, 2021. And this was found on the Medium. If you don't know about the Medium, or it's just Medium, right? Check out Medium. It's great. They have some really great articles, self-care, and then you can get it for free too. They let you read up to 3 articles, I think, a month for free. And then after that, it's like $4.99 a month.
Yeah.
So this particular article, he says, sometimes all we have to do is allow ourselves to just be human.
Yeah.
He says, "I just want to tell you that I understand where you are. You've reached your limit. You've been under so much that you don't even know what to do." Like, sometimes that's how it can feel when you're navigating these undesirable feelings, these emotions, Yeah. That he says, and because you are such a wonderful human being, right, you didn't want to bother anyone with how you've been feeling, because let's just face it. People will be there for you for a little bit, but they just really can't navigate all your feelings all the time because they got their own stuff.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line. It's not that they're not good people. It's just, and some people, they can't handle their own feelings, so they really can't handle yours, right? So sometimes when that happens and we recognize that, we want to keep it to ourselves. We want to try to deal with everything ourselves. First and foremost, we definitely want to say, if you're in a need for help, and you don't know all of this stuff, this self, care and DIY healing stuff is not feeling available to you right now, please seek help, right? Please reach out to a professional to get yourself some help, okay? And Kuyani, if you could just look up a hotline for, help, for someone who may be going through it, that'd be great, and we can share it with everyone. But he says, because you're such a wonderful human being, you don't want to bother anyone with how you've been feeling. You just stayed the warm, charming, and beautiful person that you've always been, only showing love towards others. Maybe that's you. Maybe you have this outside face. And then he says, and when you're alone is where you start to get to feel your real inner self, where you feel so tired of fighting that something troubling you, so tired of fighting that something that's troubling you for so long, where you have thoughts of, is it still worth going on? Where you don't want to do practically anything, where you don't want to get out of bed, where you lost the meaning of being here, where you just feel so tired of life, those kind of feelings. We understand. He understands, he says. And we also understand that it's hard. It's hella hard, okay, this stuff. He also goes on to say, I know today has been harder than other days, because he's, catering this to a particular day you might be having, because he said, read this when you're having a bad day. He says, we have been taught that we always have to keep feeling good all the time. I can't tell you how much of a burden that was for me. You know, just I always just felt like I could never feel anything but great, you know? And that actually caused me to go into a personality trait where I just had the blues. And I was like, no, people want me to smile and be nice. And I'm just like, I'm not going to do it, you know? And I didn't like that either. But that's what was happening. It was kind of like, you're not going to control my emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Feel bad. I'm going to feel bad.
Yeah, that's it, you know? So
take the bad.
that's right. You have to take the good with the bad. He who desires the rose must respect its thorns. But we know that feeling good all the time is just not possible. We are not machines, but yet we treat ourselves as if we were, not letting ourselves rest, always working, always trying to improve ourselves, always being better. But we are not machines. We're humans. Sometimes in life, we reach our own limitations and we feel disappointed with ourselves when we get to them because we aren't working as hard as we used to. And that's what society and social media have taught us. But they're missing something very important, and that is let yourself be human. Let yourself fall. Let yourself cry. Let yourself rest. It's time for you to clear your mind. It's time for you to just be and only be. Maybe this is the thing you need. Maybe this is the thing you've been praying all this time. And it's just a matter that you give yourself the opportunity. Just for today, let yourself be human. Let yourself feel. If you have the necessity to cry, cry then. Cry all you need. Cry all you haven't cried during the past years, months, or days. We as humans need to disconnect from ourselves, from everything from time to time. So just for today, or on the days that you're feeling not so great, like you're having the blues, don't bother connecting with anything, not even yourself, not even your supposed to's, how you identify with you. I'm ad-libbing, adding my own stuff here, but not even your thoughts, just disconnect. You, by doing this just for one day, will not affect your life at all in a negative way. It'll be okay. So allow yourself to feel and disconnect from everything. I can assure you that everything you are worried about, if it's going to come to you or not, it will come to you. There's no doubt in that. But just for today, let yourself just exist. And you'll discover a part of yourself you didn't know was there. And it will be beautiful. We all go through this. And he says we can get through it together. But I know that when you're having moments like this, you really feel kind of alone.
Yeah.
But he's telling us to read this when you feel that way, because he wants to be there to support you.
Yeah.
And he says he's going to be doing the same thing. Everything's going to be just fine. Even when it doesn't feel like it's fine. Just for the moment, let yourself be what you want to be. How you want to be, how you want to feel. Don't let anybody tell you how you're supposed to feel. All right. And so with that being said, you know, I love that article so much because it's reminding us, like, you don't have to keep trying to fix yourself. Like, even with self-care mastery, it's not about just the constant, you know, action. There is stuff happening in the inaction of things, in the seeming like it's an inaction.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So even in that part, even if you're feeling like messages like this are not hitting, you're like, I think you said something earlier, basically, like, I don't want to hear all that. Like,
Yeah.
right now, that is exactly what this is saying. Okay, be where you are, and don't worry about how it looks. Don't worry about whether you're getting anything done. Just be where you are, because sometimes that's all you can do. You know, I'm thinking about the cycle I was in when I was married and taking care of everybody, um, and didn't have room to process my own pain. And I tried. Sometimes I tried talking to people, um, but there was this guilt and the shame attached to having feelings or feelings that weren't happy, Georgia, especially being a Christian. If you are a Christian and you are, people would accuse you sometimes of not having faith or, not trusting God, or basically, how dare you be so low when you serve this mighty creator. And
All this stuff going on around you, all this beautiful blessings. How you gonna be in that place? You better pick yourself on up, girl.
this morning in my right mind, and it's like, did you know? I'm not in my right mind. That's the stuff, clothing in my right mind. People crack me up with that saying. It's like that's the be all and end all to your blessings, because I got clothes on my back and I am conscious and fully aware of what's going on in my surroundings. No, that don't feel like a blessing to me. I want to be naked and crazy right now, because the world as it is too much for me. You know what I mean? And I think that's why some people often do that, what we call go crazy. They leave their minds because it's too much. And so if we are allowed, or we allow ourselves to process our emotions and not bottle them up and stuff them down, we can avoid things like that. And so I'm so grateful for this article. It, like, reading it was so special because I felt like it was sent just for me. As much as we are conduits for other people to heal and care for themselves in a more intentional way, we are humans as well, and we go through stuff. And a lot of times folks think because you're usually the person that everyone calls on that you don't feel them. And, they're fine, they're strong, they have tools, all these tools that we offer to other people. Supposedly we have mastered them, but we are in fact still learning them. So every time I get to a new level in my life, and when I say level, I don't mean I'm up here now and y'all are down there, or these people. I'm saying when I get to a new level in my own personal growth, I get new information, and there are new challenges at that level. So there's a discomfort, and you can almost feel like you're back where you started when you were on the other level of the other thing that you were growing through. And so we need messages too. We need to know that we are in our right minds, if you will, that we are on the right path, and that it's okay if we ain't feeling it today. It's okay if we.
I mean, a bad day is not a definition about your success.
Exactly. I don't want to be supernatural today. I don't want to be super enlightened. I don't want to have all the answers today. I'm just like, okay, I don't care about this shit. I'm gonna go sit in the corner and I'm gonna brood until I don't feel like brooding. And I don't want to talk to nobody. I don't want to read it, because sometimes I don't want to read the enlightenment. I don't want to read the messages because I'm feeling a certain way. Sometimes the messages come and they may mean one thing, but they feel like an attack.
Like judgment.
Yeah, they feel like
judgment. Yeah.
Right now you should be feeling like this, and it's like, nope, can't listen to you right now. I've been that person to people. I've been the, sunshine and rainbows, and they're like, pause. I don't want to hear it. I had a friend, more than 15 years ago. She had something happen in her life that was very, she had a loss. It wasn't a person, but she had a major financial loss. And we all had this group chat, and I didn't even say nothing. We in the group chat, and she was like, and Yanni, I don't want to hear nothing about how God's going to fix it, and it's going to be this, and it's going to be that. I'm not there right now. And I was like, but I got it. It was like, I hear you. I hear you. Because when I'm there, I'm not even communicating with anyone. Because if you tell me something about some sunshine and rainbows, when it feels like I'm dying right now, I might hit you. I might clock you.
I feel like feelings want to be felt. I feel like that's, they keep coming up until you feel them.
Yeah, no matter what. So people can tell you whatever they want to tell you. What I learned in doing this work is to sometimes people don't even want you to say nothing. They just want you to be there
and hold space.
Right. I don't know which. I feel like it's the Jewish religion. They call it sitting shiva, where after someone dies, everybody just shows up and they all just sit. And nobody's talking. I mean, nowadays they be talking and eating and stuff like that. But for the most part, they just show up and ain't nobody saying a word. They're just there because you have had this loss. And do you really want to be talking to people?
You just don't want to feel alone. A lot of times you don't want to feel alone. And it can also feel like rejection when someone doesn't allow for you to show all of yourself. It can feel like they're rejecting a part of you. A part of your human process, which is natural.
Yes.
So one of the things that Kuyani just looked up for us is an app that's called BetterHelp app. And from what I can gather on here, it is for everybody. No location or insurance issues. I don't really know how that works, but apparently it says online sessions are convenient for people who are not in a geographical location with easy access to a therapist. It says that about, I don't know how the insurance component of it works, but a lot of times it says affordable counseling online. One of the biggest differences of online therapy to traditional in-person therapy is that counseling and communication with therapists is possible from anywhere. We heard that. And it says working from home. Web therapy typically costs less because many counselors are therapists working from home and don't have the common expenses like paying for rent or for in-person office or paying for transportation to and from their offices. These added expenses for a therapist generally increase their overhead, so thus making it more expensive and less cost effective. On the other hand, a therapist working through an online platform website can often keep their costs lower, allowing them to reach a more diverse audience. Right. Generally includes platforms like BetterHelp and Talkspace.
Right. Yeah, I know about that one as well.
Yeah.
I also sent you some for specific to Black people, because that's one of the things that, it's a big deal in our community that a lot of people find it difficult to connect with therapists that they feel safe with and that they feel are relatable to some degree. That's important. People that look like them.
Absolutely. I think that is important.
Yeah, and for men in particular.
So they have therapy, finding a Black therapist near you is up there. I mean, just in general, whatever culture you identify with, Black, white, Asian, whatever, all the many ones, Latino, sometimes it's just important to find someone that you can relate to, and someone, sometimes it makes a difference between male and female. We just really need a space to be able to share. And don't give up if you go to a therapist and you're like, oh, that wasn't the one, it didn't click. You just might need to try a few. It might be a numbers game, you know. So, but I think our biggest point for today's message, honestly, is that all your feelings matter, and that, we all have undesirable emotions. Some people navigate them by distracting themselves, and it works for a time. Like sometimes you do just need to distract yourself for the moment because it's not the time. Maybe you're at work and you're having big emotions or whatever, so you need to do something. But there's whatever it is that you need to do that's unique for you, you need to do it. If you need to take the day off, if you feel like you can, then do that. That those personal, those mental health days, they're important. If you need to just take the morning off, sometimes you may just need to go in late, do that for yourself and then disconnect. Don't try to make it into anything. Just Feel the feelings, go with how you're feeling, and don't judge yourself for having the big, the feelings. For me, there's a saying that I shared on our Facebook group today. The message was the blues. Yes, the blues can come and they can go. Sometimes they can sneak right up on us. So remember, when they appear, be kind to yourself. Reach out to a friend, go for a walk, focus on something you love to do. But most of all, take care of you, whatever that is. And doing nothing is okay too, if you can give yourself permission. I particularly like to remind myself when the feelings come, the big emotions that that don't feel good to me in my body. I like to remind myself that just wait for the scene to change, because the scene is gonna change. And
yes.
It's kind of a little joke that I have. So if I have a current scenario or a thought pattern that is less than desirable, I just reminding myself that it's gonna pass helps me to continue to stay hopeful. It helps me to focus on how beautifully messy life can be. And that positive change and transformation is just always just around the corner. So if you're going through, just keep going. That's just the really most important part, because you got to live to tell the story.
Yeah.
And we're all storytellers. You got to live to let people know I made it through that.
Yeah. Someone I reshared it, I reposted it. Someone that I follow, his name, I think his Instagram name is Try1. I think his real name is Tyrone, and he just played with it. He's something to the Knowles family, the Beyonce and him. I don't remember what he did for them, but he's very close with them. He put up a post on his page today that said, "Hey, you, don't give up, okay?" And I just, that was just so beautiful. And I just thought about all the times where I felt like that, where I felt like I can't anymore. And all the people that I've listened to who were in that space where they were like, just to hear it felt so personal. It felt like someone saw me, and so I reposted it because I was like, I just want whoever is in that space right now to know that somebody sees them, that somebody hears them without them even saying anything, because being bogged down with emotions that don't get tended to can make us feel like that sometimes. And we're about the business of this life, and we don't get that space to really process. We can feel like I can't, And so,
it can also turn into addictive behavior patterns. Like when we internalize things so much, it can start to turn into overeating. It can turn into over shopping. It can turn into over medicating. It can turn into all of the above. It can turn into, just addictions in general. So you want to make sure that you process those feelings, and you nurture them like a little baby, you would nurture a little baby. There's a help hotline for if you're feeling suicidal. Also, the help hotline that I'm showing right now is 800. So 1-800-273-8255. 1-800-273-8255. And so if you're feeling like, I just don't want to do this anymore. Like I want to do this, but I don't want to do this like this. That's usually what it is. It's not that you necessarily don't want to do life. Like you might enjoy life, but you just don't enjoy the way things are flowing now.
Yeah.
Then you just need some help.
Yeah.
So how do we navigate big emotions? We feel them, right? That's for one. We give ourselves a safe space. And sometimes other people can't be in that space with you. They can't handle your emotions. That's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with them. It just means they can't handle them, So take some time to yourself. You know, be with yourself. Give yourself permission to do that. If you have the energy to muster up, usually when I'm feeling like that, I don't have the energy to do nothing but lay in my bed. Okay. But if you have the energy, try to engage in some self-care practices. Take a nice bath, like the post said, take a walk. You know, if you have a friend that's going to be a good listener, give them a call, shout them out, you know. Treat yourself to a massage. I always love getting a nice, good massage. Something that's going to make you feel real good. If you have a special treat that you love, go ahead and enjoy, you know, that special treat. Try to do something that is going to make you feel safe. I don't necessarily mean make you feel good, right? Because it's not that you want to immediately try to push yourself into a feel good place, because you want to process the feelings. You want to go through the layers of the feeling so that maybe you can try to understand the feeling a little bit and see, like, what's the message here in this feeling? You know, because sometimes feelings come up because we are ignoring something that's going on with us. Maybe someone is mistreating us and we're ignoring it. And so sometimes then the feelings become so overwhelming to get us to hear that our soul is crying out to be heard and to be better cared for. You know, so I don't want us to necessarily try to jump into getting to a place of joy, right? I want us to first unpack the feeling.
Yeah.
You know, like what is the message?
I like that.
Yeah. And then, you know, once you have an understanding of what the message is there an action that you need to take so that you can start to reduce, you know, occurrences of this feeling, so you can navigate the feeling better? Is there an action? Is there a boundary you need to set?
Yeah.
You know, is there some more self-care practice that you need to embark on? You know, what is it? Do you need to get a new job? You know, do you need to let go of a particular friend? You know, a mate? I don't know. Like, but that's what there's huge feelings are coming to talk to us, if you will. They're like, there's a talking that needs to happen. So ask those questions. And then, you know, I feel like there's a natural process of allowing feelings to just have their way and be felt, and then they kind of just leave on their own.
Yeah, and if there is an action, when you allow the natural process, the answers sort of come, because now you're allowing it the space that it needs. It makes room. It makes room for answers, you know. So, yeah, I think, well, I know only from experience. I know that being, letting yourself, allowing yourself, no matter what it is.
I love what he said also about have a good cry.
Yeah.
You know, like, I will have a good cry, because what can start to happen if you are suppressing too much? It's happened to me where you're just all of a sudden crying anywhere. You know, you just all of a sudden you don't even know. I found myself at work and I'm sitting, a song comes on and just crying. I'm like, oh Lord, you crying.
That used to happen to me at least twice a year, and it would last for days because I wasn't crying. I wasn't allowing myself to feel. I was the only emotion that I probably allowed was anger, maybe anger or resentment, and that kept me from releasing the tears. Because if I was angry, I was like, no, this person or this situation doesn't get my tears, because that it was a source of pride for me. You know, it was like, no, my tears are for some reason, I thought my tears, holding them back, was a strength. And so if someone hurt me or something was hurting me, if I gave them my tears, and I felt I was empowering it, I didn't realize that the tears were actually helping me. So they would just come on their own. I'd be, you know, it'll be a littlest thing, and I'll be someplace that I don't want to be, and just flood. And I got to find my way to some private place, and then I would be crying off and on for days, 4 days, because it's like it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable to deny yourself or deny your emotions access to you. Eventually, they're going to take it, and it will come out in a number of ways. Some of them will have you institutionalized, and that to some degree ain't a bad thing. Because sometimes it's nothing like that aloneness.
Yeah, I think when that starts happening, I think it's a clear indication that you need to spend some time with yourself. And now for me, I'll just take the time, like I just need time with myself and just process, or just to enjoy being with myself. Sometimes that's just what the big emotions are. It could just very well be that you just need time alone.
I miss me. Like, I miss you.
Yeah. And you could miss not catering to others, because, sometimes that's a thing, especially depending on who you are. If you're a person who, does that, then it can become overwhelming, and you can get to the point where you just need some time to yourself. So, point being, oh, you made a great point about, anger. Some emotions are easier for us to accept than others. And I think anger is one of those emotions that we give ourselves permission to have, because it feels a little bit more brave. It feels a little bit more strong. I'm angry. I'm not sad, because sadness seems like a weak emotion. Anger feels like I'm pissed off. I'm going to whoop somebody's ass. You know what I mean? But sadness means somebody hurt my feelings. And, I don't know if you were, the impression that I got when you saying someone hurt your feelings, like that was just not okay to say.
That was me. That was like, it made me want. I used to tell people all the time that if you make me cry, I'm more than likely going to fight you, because that was like to hurt my feelings.
Embarrassing.
Yeah. Yes.
It's embarrassing to be sad.
Or in some kind of way, which means I got to whoop your ass because you made me cry. And, God forbid somebody saw it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
because I think sadness means that, like, sadness is kind of like something that someone did affected you, and it's like it just shows in some realm, or some belief system, it shows a sign of weakness to be sad. As anger seems to get more respect, it shows a sign of strength, domination, control. But honestly, anger built up is just a lot of sadness built up.
Hey, you're in my head. I'm like, really? You're just sad.
You're just sad, and you're sad. You might be sad that you might be angry at yourself for being sad, because you've been taught to believe that sadness is not a positive emotion to have, or it's not an emotion that you should have. Rather, not positive is not the right word, but it's not an emotion that is acceptable.
That's right.
That's what it is. So you might be angry at yourself for feeling certain emotions, but we're here to tell you that all emotions matter, and we just want you to have a system or a technique for how you process your emotions. Journaling really helps also sometimes, to write. You can do audible journals, so you can record yourself speaking your feelings and your thoughts so that you can listen to them and process them. I love doing that a lot. And I don't know if you've ever done it when you're crying. Oh my gosh, it's just so, it's like, I know.
Laugh at them, but that's my personal thing, because I'm remembering where I was, and that's me. I laugh at morbid stuff, but that's also part of my therapy. But I go back and I listen. Like, there's some stuff that I deleted from years ago because they were focused on like particular individuals. Now when I record, I don't necessarily say names anymore, because my kids are gonna do something with these things later. I can't
imagine that, right?
Using folks' names and my stuff. But I'll go back and listen, and some of them were crying ones. And most of the time I sound cute when I'm crying. But some of them I sound crazy, and I'm laughing like, girl, you was not playing. You was
That's so good though, to get out those really ugly cries. It's just like it's non-controlled. You're just letting it out. And crying is a very cleansing activity. So let yourself cry. I know that might be harder for men because you might have been taught that, it's crying, you shouldn't cry, but you need to cry because you need to heal. You need to feel your feelings so that you can take positive action, transformative.
There you go.
Transformative action so that, you're listening to you. So I love yoga for that. I love meditation for that because it gives you an opportunity to listen to you. Sometimes it's just your body that's crying. It's your body that's in pain because your body is not being heard. It's being pushed by your brain, and it's not being considered. But your body has rights too, So sometimes it just wants to be felt. It's like you're overworking me. Yeah. So navigating undesirable emotions. Let yourself do it. We're going to wrap this thing up for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. Q, you have anything else you want to add before we check out?
Nah, just feeling feelings.
You feeling feelings. That's right. Feel those feelings. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Please make sure that you reach out for help. Remember, the BetterHelp app is one alternative. We also shared with you the hotline today, 800-273-8255. That is, speak to someone, a professional. And, you might want to have a therapist in your particular area. They have therapy for Black men, therapy for Black girls. I'm sure they have those for people of all cultures, Asian, Latino, white American, all of them. Just get someone that you can relate to you. All right. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Peace.
The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline number is 800-273-8255. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share this video. See you next time. If you're looking to purchase sea moss in its various forms, visit One Peaceful Yogi on Instagram, and you can learn more about the benefits of sea moss on her Instagram page as well.